Well, my name is Carol Sherwood, and I have been a child of God for 31 years. Well, I didn't accept Christ until I was 35, so I had a pretty messy life before that. My family went to church, but I didn't understand that I needed to have a personal relationship with God. I always believed in God, Jesus, Holy Spirit, but I never kept with that. And when I got into my 20s, I started doing some pretty stupid things, partly because when I was 5, I was sexually abused by a neighbor, and my dad, even though he was caring, was an alcoholic, and so that caused a lot of issues in my life. Later on, I started living with a drug addict, and that led to a lot of poor choices in my life. At about 28, I was in a bad car accident, and that led to lifelong back and neck pain. Shortly after that, I got pregnant and then miscarried. Fortunately, God used that to bring me to my senses and let me see that I needed to get out of that relationship, and so I ended it. Later, I married a man and moved to Roseburg. That marriage ended, however, it did bring me to Redeemers. After a few months of going to Redeemers and listening to Steve Walker's sermons, I realized that I needed to make my walk with Jesus personal. And then in 1992, on December 20th, I became a child of the living God. When I became a child of the living God, I realized that it was my mistakes and my sin that caused me to stray from Him. So faithful Bible teaching, following the advice of godly women, and beginning my walk with God helped me to realize that the abuse and the other things that I was trying to use as control or as an excuse for the control in my life, I could let those go, and that God has redeemed me, and that I do not have to hang on to those things. And with that, it allowed me also to get a greater understanding of what other people are going through and how I might be able to step out and help, and how does God want to use my life and my mistakes and my sin to help someone else. Well, in spite of all of my mistakes in life, God has used everything for good, and that has the gratitude I have to Him for that has caused me to reach out to others. So at Redeemers, some of the things that I get to do, I serve as a lay counselor. I serve on the prayer team. My husband, David, my amazing husband, and I work as the premarital counselors in the church, and also we serve on the marriage ministry as facilitators. And then we usher together too. Outside of Redeemers, I serve as the reproductive grief coordinator at Hope Clinic for Women, and helping people go work through any kind of reproductive grief that they have. And then my main job, if you want to call it that, is as parent life director with Umpqua Valley Youth for Christ, and we have an outreach to pregnant and parenting teens and get to help them through some really difficult times in their lives. I find humor in what God has done with that, because here's a woman who's never given birth, never raised children, and she's walking through life with young women and men who are in the most delicate time of their life and most personal time. And then also with the women I work with Hope, or the women and men I work with at Hope, it's an incredibly painful time for them, but it's a very healing time too. Jesus brought me through terrible times of confusion and pain, and it has given me the desire to help others who are also going through those same kind of situations. I want others to know the love and joy of a personal relationship with Jesus. I feel like I'm helping people fearlessly follow Jesus when I can walk with a person through reproductive grief, or help a young woman through her pregnancy, or when we can help a couple work through premarital counseling. And we have the opportunity to just share what Jesus can do in a person's life. When you're young, you think you know everything. When you're old, you know you never will. Somewhere in between, you're not quite so naive, and you think that the gray-haired people might actually have something to say. So something I know for certain, that it's only through the grace of God, sacrifice of Jesus, and the Holy Spirit living in me that I have made it to gray-haired and 66 years old. And it is the gratitude that I feel to God for that I want to do whatever He calls me to do for as long as He calls me to do it.